Namaskar and welcome to the special webinar series of Hindu Council of Australia's Victoria chapter. I am Jay Bharadwaj from Ethnic Link Labs. In today's session, we shall be talking about benefits of yoga for mental health during COVID-19. It's a very difficult time here for community of Victoria. We are having lockdown right now, so we understand how stressful it is for people who are in lockdown, who are thinking about their jobs, who are thinking about their business, or who are looking after their families. So we'll be trying to work out how to cope with this. So let me introduce you with the eminent panelists which we have today to talk about this subject. First of all, we have President of Hindu Council of Australia, Victoria Chapter, Mr. Makarand Bhagwat. Makaranji, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us. Second one is Dilip Sonarji, a long-time practitioner of pranayama and yoga teacher who supports the practical aspects of yoga. See, this is a very stressful modern life, but what Dilip Sonarji does is explain and teach you the aspects which helps you in daily life. So that is the most important part of it. And yes, we'll be talking about mental health and mental well-being. Thank you so much, Dilip ji, for coming here. Our next guest is Asmita Thakurji, who works as an insurance broker. But this is not the reason why she's here. Yes, insurance is a very important part of life these days, but she's a yoga instructor for last 10, 15 years. And like most of us in India, she was introduced to yoga by her father. And after that, she went on to a lot of gurus who have taught her the yoga the way she knows. So thank you so much, Asmita ji, for joining us.
Thank you, Jayji.
And fourth, but not the least, our fourth panelist is Sundar Iyer ji. He is founder and MD of Immortal Asia Pacific, a very successful businessman. But what makes him different is that he is a yoga teacher coming from Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandira. Sundarji, thank you so much for joining with us. With a panel like this, I think I should be the person who should be speaking less. And I should be asking you people more questions to make my life and people like me cope with this COVID pandemic and the kind of lockdowns we get and the kind of stress we have because of all the issues associated with us. But before we start the program, this month is special because International Yoga Day is coming on. So I would request Makarand Bhagwat ji if he could explain what this 1 month is going to be for Hindu Council of Australia's Victoria chapter. I'm sure there are a few important programs which our listeners can join in. Makarand ji, over to you.
Thank you, Jayji. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you all on behalf of Hindu Council of Australia's Victoria chapter at this webinar on the benefits of yoga for mental health during the COVID-19 pandemic. As Jayji mentioned, this is an important webinar in the view that International Day of Yoga is approaching next month on 21st June. As you may know, United Nations announced 21st of June as the International Day of Yoga in 2014. And since the following year, this is being celebrated all over the world. So the definition of yoga in the Yoga Sutra or the aphorisms of Patanjali, who is the ancient authority on the yoga, is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which translated it means that yoga is an art or a tool or a technique of clearing the mind of all the distractions and the conflicts. And anyone who has taken up the practice of yoga is sure to benefit in many ways, especially in finding tranquility and peace in this difficult time which we are going through. And then he or she will be able to harness the tremendous energy within themselves. So it is like it is a tool which can be used by any human being. It is not faith related, and you can do it in the time and the suitable time what you have. For example, the uniqueness of yoga, as I said, it is applicable to everyone, is like taking any medicine. Say, for example, anybody can take a Panadol without their belief in any faith. If they have pain, they can take a Panadol, get a pain relief. Yoga is something like that. It is applicable to everyone. However, it depends entirely on the step-by-step practice of the methods which are described in the yoga texts, and of course, guidance of proper and authentic yoga teacher. And today we got 3 of them on this webinar today. So going back to the International Yoga Day, Jaiji, Hindu Council of Australia in Victoria is organizing few events on the weekend of 19th and 20th of June, because 21st is a Monday, working day. And we have an event coming up in Ballarat this time in the regional Victoria. And in that event, apart from celebrating the Yoga Day, we will also have a vigil for the current crisis going on in India. The other 2 events are being firmed up as we speak, potentially at MCG and Federation Square. As soon as the details are available, we will make them available on the Facebook for everyone. And fingers crossed, if all goes well with the current restrictions, we will be able to hold these events face to face. So
that will be great if we have something in MCG.
Yeah, we are trying, and we are close to finalizing something. Probably in the next week, we'll hear something from them.
Thank you so much, Makranji.
Thank you.
Let me start with the topic in hand: benefits of yoga for mental health during COVID-19. Because Dilip ji always talks about mental well-being through yoga, and he has been explaining this to a lot of people. I was reading about how Dilip ji has been working with people in terms of helping them. Dilip ji, why not I start with you, and can you weigh them together when we talk about mental health and yoga, and we combine them together? What is the pathway? Where does it take us? If you can tell us.
Sure. Thank you, Jaiji. And first of all, I would like to say good afternoon to all viewers, and also thank Hindu Council of Australia Victoria chapter for organizing this important event and giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts. Jaiji, what I would like to open up this discussion with is how this society view mental health versus how we view physical health. And by the way, I would like to refer mental health as mental well-being or inner well-being. You see, when we are not feeling well physically, we have no hesitation in telling others that I have headache, or I have backache, or fever, or maybe I fractured my hand or leg, and so on and so forth. We don't feel that there is anything wrong with this. We wait a day or two, and we have no hesitation in going to a doctor, to our GP or family doctor, getting tests done and getting medicines to feel well. However, how often we say that I'm feeling low, I'm feeling depressed, I think my anxiety level has gone up, or I'm getting very angry and shout for no reason, and so on and so forth. How often do we really recognize or accept that we need help? How often do we reach out to professionals like we reach out to doctors? Also, when it comes to physical health, and thanks to the largest university in the world, which is WhatsApp, we seem to know as good, if not more, than the doctors about our physical health. We know hundreds of parameters for good physical health. What is the right weight for my height, mass index ratio, blood pressure level, cholesterol level, platelet counts, hemoglobin, and so on and so on and so forth. But how well do we know what are the parameters for our mental well-being? And I'm reminded of a friend, Dinkar Rao, who goes to a GP and he says, Dr. Saab, for last few days, I have been observing that I feel tired, I'm sweating a lot. My BP has been 90 over 155. My heart palpitates often. I sleep more, and if I sleep on my side for 8 hours, I have chest pain. I think I have got heart problem. I've got some prescription written on your letterhead. Can you please sign? The doctor said, Dinkar Rao, can you give me your photo, please? No, no, I want to keep it next to Lord Ganesha and offer my pranams to you. This is what the level of knowledge, and in fact, we have got our about our physical health, but about our mental well-being. I don't think we are that cautious, aware, and we have all the information that we need to make sure that we are also physically and mentally well. You see, our physical well-being and mental well-being both are interconnected and interdependent. And therefore, we need to consider this holistically.
Thank you. Thank you, Dilip ji. These are important questions which probably we need to ask ourselves. I would like to get Asmita inside, if possible. Asmita ji, how do you relate what Dilip ji is saying? Is it how you think? Is it how you receive the questions from people who you are teaching yoga to? Asmita ji is there. If we can have Asmita ji.
Hello.
Ji,
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Ji,
Okay.
bilkul.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jai ji, and thank you, Makaran ji, and the Hindu Council of Australia, the Victoria chapter, for giving me this opportunity today. Much appreciated. Now, look, as Dilip ji has rightly said, yes, there is a lot of crisis going on around at the moment in the society, not just our society, but also in the whole world. Like fear, sorrow, anxiety, depression, and they are all suffering from all this. And because the mind and the body are interrelated, we are not only seeing the mental illnesses or deterioration in the mental health, but also the physical health at the same time. And basically, the thing is, it is an external situation. The crisis is an external situation, which something we don't have our control on. So what we need to bring control is our own self. We need to bring control on our own mind, our own body as well. Make it strong enough, make it flexible enough, so that we are able to withstand, we are able to handle these situations, come what may. And I think that can be done through yoga, basically. And I would strongly suggest, we all know about yoga. We all know that it increases flexibility, etc. It is an Ashtanga yoga. Many of them have been practicing it, and many of them are now getting themselves into yoga as well, which is great. The online facilities, the social media, they're helping us a lot to spread the word of yoga. So it is a magic word. As Makaranji rightly said, it is chitta vritti nirodha, so the cessation. So he has actually helped us in explaining that as well. So the asanas, basically, as you know, they deal with the physical aspect of our body, the physical body. The pranayam will help us to take care of our breath, and in turn also calm the mind, which I'll leave with Dilip ji to talk about. And then there is meditation, the techniques of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, which are steps in meditation, which can take us on the spiritual path as well, and at the same time calm the mind. So it is basically necessary for all of us around to calm the mind, so that a calm mind can handle the situations better. It can pause, it can respond to situations rather than reacting to the situations. So we have a full control over our body, we have a full control over our mind to stop, think, and then handle the situations. I think this is really, really important. Otherwise, there are, once the mind goes out of control and the senses, just like a horse and the reins, as in Kathopanishad. The reins are supposed to be controlling the horses, which are our senses. So instead, the horses control the reins. They take the chariot away, and the chariot in the end is going to crash. In the same way, when the senses take control over our mind, which is all Hafizat, we are going, or people may go into sensual pleasures like overeating, over drinking, violence, depression, and things like those. And that is exactly what is leading to all this crisis, or increasing the mental health as well, mental health deterioration as well.
I really appreciate the way, Asmitaji, you have told rain and the horse. This I have heard a few times. But while I want to introduce Sundarji, I want to ask him, up to here, what Dilipji and Asmitaji have told us, up to here, I do understand that there is some need for looking after your mental self. But I don't act. So while I introduce you, what is there in this modern life that despite understanding what Dilipji and Asmitaji is saying, why don't we act on our well-being? And when we are talking about well-being, that is probably the mental well-being. Physical, somehow we look after ourselves. I walk, but I don't look after my mental well-being. I'll ask you this and leave it for you to explain it to us.
Yes, thank you very much, JG, for this, and thank you once again for the Hindu Council of Australia's Victoria chapter for affording me this opportunity to speak to you. You're absolutely right, JG, and there's a lovely saying, and that is, we should live in the world, but not let the world live in us to a great extent. And your question about why do people not take charge of their own well-being is a very good one. What tends to happen is that we think that, and there's all sorts of excuses come in. We think that, oh, okay, I don't have time. I don't have the opportunity to do this. I don't know yoga. I don't have a teacher, so therefore I cannot start. And all of these excuses tend to detract us from actually taking on the opportunity that affords us. Because now you can do yoga from the comfort of your own home, so you don't have the excuse of, okay, I need to go somewhere to get it done. There's many YouTube videos that you can watch. There's many other opportunities that one can get. But there's also the point about we are what we practice doing. We are what we practice doing, and let me give you an example. If we practice being distracted, then we're going to get very good at distraction. If we practice focusing and concentrating, we are going to get very good at focusing and concentrating. So I'd like to ask your viewers and those here, perhaps it's a personal question, but do you sleep with your phone next to your bed? If so, you might quite possibly wake up feeling tired. So put your phone in another room, have a good night's sleep and wake up with a clear head. Yoga isn't just what happens on the mat. It's also the attitudes that we take off the mat as well. So if your phone isn't right next to you, you're going to wake up, having had a good night's sleep. It also means that you're not going to reach for your phone the first thing in the morning, which means that you can connect to yourself before you connect to your Wi-Fi. And this morning dose of yoga, I'm married, I've got 3 kids, I run my own business. My days start at 4 a.m. and end at about 9:30 p.m. If I can do it, anyone can do it. The thing is that, when you have that morning dose of yoga, it's the rudder for my day. It sets the direction for the rest of my day. It sets me in a very positive and productive pathway for the rest of the day. And really, it's, I tell people, don't say that you're spending time doing yoga. Say that you're investing in yourself to do yoga. Because when you make that investment, it will pay off in very rich dividends. All yoga asks of you is to have some self-discipline. And if you give it that self-discipline, it will give you back. It'll give you back self-belief. It'll give you back self-confidence. It'll give you back self-leadership. And most importantly, it'll give you back self-knowledge. So that way it'll create the clarity, and the next steps become much, much easier.
Thank you, Sundarji. I really liked it. Yes, I'm guilty of keeping my phone next to me. I understand that all my work is on phone and I should be connected all the time, but probably it's not the good idea. And another thing is that most people like me, I have seen my friends and colleagues, all their day starts 7 o'clock somehow, 7 in the morning, and ends at 12:30 in the night. So practically what you are saying is probably to shift to 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock if possible, to do that, and take it to maybe 9:30 to 10:30. So that's what you are suggesting, isn't it? You're on mute, Sundar.
Beg your pardon. So every hour of sleep that you have before midnight is actually worth double to your body. So if you go to bed, say at 9, and that 9 to 12, you will actually wake up automatically at about 3 or 4 in the morning, feeling actually quite energetic. So, the earlier you can sleep, and again, if we think about, human evolution, for millions of, or for at least 1 million years, our circadian rhythms, we've been going to sleep when the sun goes down, and we've been waking up when the sun comes up. It's only really with electricity in the last 100 years that, we've changed that pattern. But our evolutionary biology is such that we are actually rely on light outside. So I keep my curtain just slightly open, even on the days when I do want to sleep in. I keep my curtain slightly open, and that way the natural light will wake me up. But if you sleep at about 9 or 9:30 when you put your kids to bed, or just after you put your kids to bed, put the phone away. Read something. Read something that calms you, that doesn't disturb you, and get into the right headspace for rest. Rest is as important as activity, and you will automatically find yourself with that good night's rest, waking up with a lot more vigor and vitality and energy.
Why don't I connect to Dilipji? Dilipji, how do you see what Sundarji is suggesting, and is it practically possible for this modern life junkies like us, or I'll call me, to do what Sundar has just suggested us?
It is, Jayaji, it is absolutely possible. And what we need is to realize why it is necessary and what are the benefits of actually doing that. What Sundarji is actually saying is to allow unwinding time. So towards the end of the day, what I would suggest we all do is just before you go to sleep, maybe about 30 minutes or so, just switch off everything, not even your television, because these days you watch more television, you get so many ideas contradicting and conflicting and confusing that your brain activity is actually heightened rather than slowed down. And what we need for a good night's sleep is that your brain activity is slowing down. So allow yourself a unwinding time, say of 30 minutes. Just forget the day's event, take a good book, or even music. I would suggest music is an absolutely important part in calming down your mind. Listen to whatever music that you like to. Listen to it 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you find that your sleep is more deep, and when you wake up, you're feeling more energetic. So yes, I do agree with what Sundarji is saying.
You know what? Sundarji just took away my phone, and now you are taking away my TV. So I'm really scared right now. Asmita ji, please help me around. Sundarji and Dilip ji are just taking my life away. So I'm feeling that way, and people like me are feeling that way, that this is after 8 o'clock, 8:30, when we have put our kids to bed. This is my time for 3-4 hours. I'll watch TV, I'll do something on my phone, I'll call, WhatsApp, or whatever I want to do, a couple of hours, and then I'll go to sleep. So is it the wrong thing, or do you have some different suggestions?
Well, I thank you, Jayji. I strongly agree with Dilipji and Sundarji as well. It is really, really important to wind down, especially get away from the technology. And in addition to that, I might even add, so in addition to music or your favorite book, etc., I might even add, just sit down with your own self in a quiet spot, close your eyes and just see if you can focus on your breath for some time, trying to declutter your mind, and coming back to the breath, going back into the thoughts, coming back to your, it is very important to declutter your mind and get rid of all that clutter before we go to bed, so that the next morning we are able to really wake up by our own self. And it works, it does work. It is slightly difficult, it will take a little longer for us to get into that habit, but definitely these good habits will take us a long way. The technology has come in just a few years ago, but going to bed early and rising up early, that has always helped. So definitely it will help to deal with these mental issues, insomnias, which in turn lead to the physical issues as well, physical diseases as well. And so I definitely agree with both of them. Yes.
Now, Sundarji took away my phone, Dilipji took away my TV, and now Asmitaji is suggesting that sit alone. So my wife is going to tell me that you got to sleep in the drawing room now. So this is what it's going to be. But let me rewind it. All right, I'm a junkie with all the equipments, electronic equipments. I'll leave them apart, but it doesn't take away my stress. I'll give you an example of my friend who is going through a little difficult time, and as his friend, I don't know how to help him. And if not most people are in such a situation that they know somebody who is going through a tough time. They want to help, but they can't. My friend lost his father a couple of months back. He couldn't travel to India, right? He went through a hard patch for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. He has gone back to work. He can't concentrate. He's having difficulties at work. A lot of rough time at work also. Family is also suffering. And now he is telling me, I'm on leave. I don't know what to do. Tell me how to cope. So I'll throw this question to all of you, that please tell us how to cope, because you know what is going in India. Every day when I receive phone calls from some friend or relative, I'm not happy, I'm scared. So how do I cope in these times? I'll probably start with Sundarji, and then all of you can share your views.
Yes, thank you, JG. And first of all, I just want to commend your friend for actually putting up his hand and reaching out to you as a friend and sharing that, he's going through a hard time. I think that self-recognition of what he's going through is a major first step. I think secondly, as a friend, it would be good of you to check and ascertain whether he has a support network over here that can help him go through this. And if not, then he does. It would be good of you as a friend to suggest that he does seek professional qualified help to help him out. But in the meantime, some things that I tell people is that once again, the mind is a very important thing to mind, and we should be mindful about what goes into our mind. And lately, with serious things are occurring, but the 24/7 news cycle is not necessarily helping. To the point about living in the world but not letting the world live in you. I think it's important to not consume too much information on the nightly news and reading and scrolling through our social media feeds endlessly. There's no end to it, is there? And a lot of news is predicated on the basis of alarmism and to make things more emotive, so that it draws our attention. But in yoga, one of the limbs of yoga is pratyahara. Pratyahara is to shut out that external stimuli so that we can calm our mind, to calm our own feelings. So Mathurity started the session by saying yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Those agitations, that turbulence in our mind, for it to settle, we need to actually first withdraw from that external stimuli that is causing us to be upset. So I think for your friend, in summary, it's good that he's recognizing that he's going through this. If he should talk to someone who he trusts to get help, and to stop feeding that anxiety with more external things, but to really get within and see what he can do to help himself before he can help others.
Dilipji, are you able to hear me? You are on mute, Dilipji. Please unmute Dilipji. Yeah, Dilipji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I don't know, somehow the audio was going really bad. So
Okay.
What Sundariji is telling us, Dilipji, shall we, like, there are two ways of doing it. Shall we go to the doctor and get go to mental health clinic, or get a help on those direction, or we should look for meditation and other therapies, or somebody like yourself? What is the right pathway, or there is a mix of it? How do we cope?
Look, it's a very important question that you have raised, Jayji, because as I have been saying, we seem to have some taboo around admitting and accepting that I may have a mental issue. Now, mental issue doesn't mean that it has reached an extreme. It just means that even if you are feeling confused, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling angry, those are the sign and telltale of there is something that is happening within your mind. So in case of your friend, what I would suggest is definitely reaching out to the support network is one thing, but he shouldn't really feel asking for counseling and if required, even going to the professionals. At the same time, what we all can do is actually we should recognize what is causing the problem. You see, having different emotions, feelings, senses, and thoughts is not a problem. That is fine. As human beings, we ought to feel depressed when something bad happens. We ought to feel angry when something that we do not like should happen. That is not a problem. The problem starts where we are unable to let go of thoughts which create these emotions and feelings. We seem to be identifying ourselves so much with the thoughts that we actually keep on feeding that feeling at the same thoughts. The thoughts feed the emotions, and the cycle continues. We need to be realizing that there is a way to actually look at all of this completely differently.
Dilip, can I stop you there and ask you, okay, I understand that part. Let me put it very strongly as a journalist I do sometimes. Give me 5 ways of coping techniques which you could suggest to our listeners.
Absolutely.
If we can chart it out so that our listeners, when they go away after this webinar, they have something to help with them. So give me something.
Sure. First of all, we need to realize that there are circumstances which are not in our control, but what is in our control is how we respond to those circumstances. As soon as you realize that how you respond to those circumstances and events, that is in something which is within your control, You put the circumstances and your feelings apart and put a pause to it. That's number one. Number two, we all need to cultivate to a practice of being patient. See, the technology has made us very, very impatient. We want everything to happen right now. We order pizza, we want it delivered now. We order clothes, we want them delivered now. Now, we need to realize that when you become patient, things take their own time, and then you also get a time and a pause to decide how you are going to respond to the changing circumstances. Third thing, do not gravitate to negativity. We tend to imagine negative outcomes more than positive outcomes. You see, there are so many things which are bombarded on us every day through social media, through news channels, through friends, and all of that we hear, that we have somehow developed this habit of actually imagining a bad outcome. I would suggest that we be conscious about this, and as soon as we start to think of a bad outcome, we stop ourselves and say, if at all we have to imagine, why not imagine a good and positive outcome? After all, it doesn't cost money. So these are sort of common sense tools, and we will also discuss some very specific yoga-based tools which will help you to cope with these situations.
Why don't I engage with Sundarji? Sundarji, I'll ask you the same question. Give me 5 tools which can be useful, or which we can use your techniques, probably with your experience. Maybe some of your students might have asked you the same questions. So what would you suggest?
Yes, thank you, JG. So I think first of all is just remember to breathe. So the word psychology, comes from psyche, means both the mind and the breath. And of course, in yoga, we have this notion of the panchakoshas, so the 5 elements or the 5 sheaths. And there is a connection between Annamaya kosha, which is our body. So if you imagine and to visualize yourself and so technique 1 is really about visualization and breathing. So with visualization, we imagine and visualize ourselves in a much better state. So we imagine ourselves with our muscles relaxed. We imagine ourselves with our breath being deep and long. So when you're with a deep inhalation and a much deeper exhalation, we imagine ourselves with our mind starting to quiet down, to calm down. We imagine our thoughts not darting about, but actually starting to focus on the positive. And we start to imagine ourselves in a happier place. So bhavana or visualization is one very powerful tool. I think the second very powerful tool is, as I mentioned before, is breathing. So when we inhale deeply and exhale longer, that triggers the relaxation response in our minds. And so that there's a connection between our breath, our breathing, as well as our mind. So I'd say, the second tool is, cultivating pranayama or breathing. The third tool I mentioned before was pratyahara. So shutting out the negativity outside, and Dilipji referred to this as well. So pratyahara is a very, very powerful tool as well. The fourth tool is dhyanam, or that focus and that meditation. And so they say, with dhyanam, it is the ability to hold that positive thought for a good length of time. Pranayama, as we mentioned before, in breathing, is able to hold, to be aware of your breath for a good length of time. Asana is the ability to hold that position for a good length of time. So all of these build on top of each other. So you asked for 5, but I think I'll stick with 3 in the interest of allowing Shmita ji to also to contribute, and Dilip ji to also contribute to this.
Judge, you are on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Probably I'll let Makranji ask a question. Probably he wanted to ask a question in terms of coping techniques. Makranji, I'll put it to you before and you ask any question to our guests. how do you cope? What is your technique? Do you just go in your shell, or do you come out aggressive? Do you just go sleep? How do you cope? What is your way of doing it?
Thank you, JJ. I think one of the techniques which me and my wife have been trying to use is off-screen time, which is stay away from the screen, whichever screen it is. It is laptop or a TV or a phone. That definitely helps. Look somewhere else. Go out in the garden. Go for a walk. And if you are at home, like we are now in the lockdown, one of the other suggestions which was given, we also sort of use that suggestion and implement that suggestion, which is reading a book. There is nothing like reading a book. And of course, whenever you get time, either make it a habit or a fixed time during the day, either morning or evening, must practice some breathing techniques. It definitely helps. As Sundarji has been saying, you have to have patience, but once you start practicing, you yourself start feeling the results. There is, I mean, no one else should tell you that these are the results. You experience the results, but it is a matter of practice.
But the modern time has given us Kindle, so I read book on Kindle itself. So that's not taking myself off the like gadgets.
Well, Kindle doesn't have Google, I guess. It just have a book. So for that matter, probably Kindle is okay, but again, it is a screen.
Thank you so much, Makranji. Asmitaji, I'll go to you now. What are your ways of teaching people who are having difficult times? What do you tell them? I'll say Sundarji has said 3 ways, or Dilipji has told us 5 ways. What are your ways? Maybe 2, 1, or 5? Give us some techniques.
Sure, Jayji. Thank you. Look, I have a couple of techniques, and I generally share it with my students as well as my friends, my colleagues as well. And it has proven to work. I have mentioned it earlier as well. The best thing to do is to sit 5 to 10 minutes at least, all by yourself with your eyes closed. Just relax yourself and try to calm your mind by bringing your attention to your breath. If it is being hard to bring your attention to your breath, you can go to each part of the body, starting from the toes, the ankles, the knees, etc. Those types of meditations are there as well to gently calm the mind. While we do this, Jayji, the thoughts still can keep coming. However, we need to understand that the thoughts are never going to stop. We just need to bring our focus on what we are intending to focus on. And at this stage, it is going to be our breath. So allow the thoughts to happen in the background and try to bring the focus back to the breath as much as possible. It does sound a bit difficult. It does take a bit of effort in the beginning, but it does help. The most important thing is this can be done either in the morning, you can do it before bed, you can do it before meals, and there is no age limit that will apply to doing this. There is no prerequisite to this, that you need to do this, you need to be practicing asanas, you need to practice your pranayam, etc. If you are doing that, it is well and good. But even if you haven't been doing any of that, even sitting down quietly will help. Now, I do understand that not every person is the same either. So, the sitting down technique may not be helpful, or it may not take them any much longer anyway, because some people may be highly energetic, some might be a bit different, they might enjoy actual activities and things like those. So as you said, listen to the music, listen to some calm music at night, that will help you to rewind. If you're an active type of a person, you can try gardening if that is something you like to do. That way you can connect with Mother Earth as well, and it is like a full meditation. Again, you put all your focus into it, and it ends up into creating some beautiful plants and flowers and fruits as well. There are so many activities that can be done into which we can conduct this sort of meditation as well, in addition to the breath. Even with the breathing techniques, there are techniques like the humming bee breath, which is the simplest one. which can be practiced at any time again. And it definitely helps to calm the mind, and it definitely improves the immunity as well. That has been proven. Again, if you are religious type of a person, go to reading some religious texts, or again reading books is another thing as well. So yeah, there are a few techniques that can be done in addition as well, which people can enjoy. So find something, find your hobby, play some music, and that will automatically take you into some sort of meditation.
Because we have a large population of Indian Australian students, international students, and students, probably your kids, my kids, and everyone else. They are also going through a little difficult time right now. They are stressed out. Most of the uni students are stressed out because the way situation is, they are not able to work, they are not able to connect to the family, they are not been able to, for 2 years they haven't seen their parents, friends. So is there a way these teenagers or the youngs, we could help? If you could address their issues, it will be great. I probably throw it to Dilip ji to start with. Dilip ji, what do you say? How they can cope? What technique can help them? Let me put this word technique there.
Okay, I'll give you two techniques that I think will help them. Right. First of all is to put things in perspective. Now, what happens is if we focus on just one thing and keep thinking about that one thing, it grows out of proportion, and therefore we lose where it stands in terms of the bigger picture. So as a student, yes, I'm stuck here, or I'm there, I want to go out and I'm not able to go out. That's fine. Accept that situation, but put it in perspective. Things have happened in past similar to this, although this pandemic is a little different because of various reasons, and we won't go into that. But things have happened in past where things have put restrictions on our mobility. Think of bigger picture. This shall pass too. We will get over this. Think about what will be the situation a year later or 2 years later. There will be delay, but things will improve, and we will be able to get to what we have been used to. So that is one thing. Secondly,
Sorry, continue, Dilip ji.
No, that's fine. I was just going to give a very, very specific technique which we all can and should follow. What has happened, JG, is our attention span has significantly reduced. Now, what happens if that reduces? Our mind tends to go from one thing to the other, to the third and fourth and fifth. That creates anxiety. Anxiety creates frustration, and then we get into depression. How do we break that? A very simple technique which anyone can follow. You don't, at any point in time, you don't need any experience in doing yoga or meditation or pranayama for that matter. What I'm now going to ask you, panelists and all our viewers, take a pause and think, what are you feeling right now? As you become aware about it, suddenly those feelings try to subside down.
I'll probably ask you, is it that easy? I try a lot of times, but I have no shame in admitting I fail miserably.
Yes, what happens is when we think we are trying, at the back of our mind, the thought processes are still going on and on and on and on. As soon as you try to look at what thoughts are coming into your mind and try to just receive them, you shall find that the grip that those thoughts have over you will loosen up.
Okay.
but surely.
Okay. Asmita ji, do you agree with what Dilip ji is saying?
Yes, definitely. I agree with Dilip ji, and that's exactly the point. As soon as you're able to concentrate or focus on your thoughts, once you know what sort of thoughts are coming in and what are to be accepted and what are to be discarded, and we can reach this situation as soon as we are able to have a good control over our mind. We need to have our mind to do things that we want. We don't want our mind to drift away in its own speed. So once we know what type of thoughts are coming, we can keep the positive thoughts, as he said previously. We can discard the negative thoughts and then go ahead. So the meditative techniques basically, they do give us, or they are a technique where we can choose what we want our mind to do.
Thank you, Asmita ji. Thank you so much. Probably I'll take it from Asmita ji and throw it to Sundar ji. Sundar, can you tell me first, is it possible to demonstrate us one breathing way or one breathing technique which our listeners, viewers could see, or is there something different for youngsters which you could suggest, or it is all the same for different age groups?
Yes, allow me to actually first address what Dilip ji and Ashmita ji have quite rightly said. I mean, it's very important to have perspective, and it's very important to adopt a technique that works for you. And I'll additionally say that we're all products of our environment, and the environment that we inhabit the most is our own minds. And specifically, it's where our awareness takes us to within our mind. And I think one thing that Ashmita ji and Dilip ji have really pointed out, and which I'd really like to emphasize, is the fact of taking this kind of witness perspective. So become a witness to your own thoughts. And when you kind of stand back a little bit and actually think about, where are my thoughts heading? And actually almost have like a watchman or a watchman kind of, sitting in a sentry in your mind and watching where your thoughts are going. That very recognition of where your thoughts are going will actually allow you to take up those reins again and to rein in your mind and steer it in a more positive direction. No one's life is easy right now. You can ask anybody and no one will say their life is easy right now. So that's one thing, to have that perspective. The other thing is that, even in nature, nature has various seasons, and our lives undergo various stages of expansion as well as contraction. And this COVID winter will give way to spring at some point in time, and we should have that faith that things will work out well. Now, going back to your question about a technique, a simple breathing technique is Nadi Shodhana Pranayam. So this is otherwise known as alternate nostril breathing. And what we do in Nadi Shodhana Pranayam is we inhale through one nostril and we exhale through the other. And the variation on this is to incrementally increase the count of your inhalation as well as your exhalation. So we start off, and this is, by the way, not only have I learned from my gurus at Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, I also wanted to acknowledge my guru over here in Melbourne, Sri Rajendra Ji from Vasudeva Kriya Yoga. And Rajendra Ji has taught me, and I very much enjoy teaching others, Nadi Shodhana Pranayam. So you can begin by letting your forefinger and your middle finger down, closing your right nostril with your thumb, exhaling fully through the left, being aware of your breath, that state of emptiness, and inhale deeply from nostril all the way through to your navel for the count of 3. Closing both nostrils for the count of 3. And exhaling through your right nostril for the count of 6. remaining in that state of emptiness for the count of 6. Inhaling for the count of 4. Closing both nostrils for the count of 4. And exhaling for the count of 8 on your left side. Closing both nostrils for the count of 8. Inhaling on your left for the count of 5. Closing both nostrils for the count of 5. And exhaling on your right for the count of 9. So this is known as Bahya Vritti Pranayam. If we look in the animal kingdom, those animals that actually, it's said that we all have a set amount of breaths in our lifetime. If we look in the animal kingdom, those animals that, breathe very deeply and long, the elephants, the turtles, etc., they have a very long lifespan, whereas the ones that are very anxious and are very breathing very rapidly, mice and rabbits, for example, they have a very short lifespan. So with Bahya Vritti Pranayam, we extend the duration of our breath. And when you're counting it, your mind automatically is counting the breaths and you're not thinking about other things.
I have got a very limited time right now. I'll give 1 minute to each of you to say, just summarize everything which you have said. Just 60 seconds. I'll start with Smith, Dilipji probably. Dilipji, 60 seconds, and then we have to wind up. I'll leave it to you.
Sure. I would just recap what I've said, which is external situations are not within your control, but how you respond to those situations is within your control. Secondly, be patient. Cultivate patience. Things take time. Things will get better. Thirdly, do not gravitate to negativity, even if your mind takes you there. If you have to imagine consequences, imagine positive consequences. Train your mind in thinking that.
Thank you, Dilipji.
And follow the yoga-based mind calming techniques.
Thank you, Dilipji. Asmita ji, please give me, in 50 seconds, tell me what you want to say.
Sure. Thank you, Jayji. Look, the current situation is really, really difficult. Everyone is facing it. But mind you that the situation is not a permanent situation. It was not there 1.5 years ago. So don't get disheartened. No situation is ever going to be permanent. So make sure we make the most of what we are doing. We are doing the best we can. Be grateful to ourselves and others. Don't take anyone or anything at all for granted. And through different techniques that we have discussed today, make your body and mind nice, strong, and flexible so that you can support yourself and others as well. Thank you very much and take care.
Thank you so much. Sundarji, over to you.
All I would say is live in the world, but don't let the world live in you. And I wish you all well on your journey towards Arogya through yoga. Namaskar.
Thank you so much. Let me introduce Makranji, please. Final remarks from Hindu Council of Australia's Victoria chapter.
First of all, thank you, Jitarji, for conducting this, and our studio guys. Thank you very much, Anuragji, and our eminent panelists, Asmitaji, Dilipji, and Sundarji, for giving a lot of insight. I think this webinar video is something which we have to go again and again and watch on the Facebook. So I encourage your friends to please go back to Hindu Council of Australia Victoria page and like the page, share this video to all your friends. And one more thing which I wanted to say, which is slightly away from this matter of discussion, is please get vaccinated. The vaccine rollout is happening. There are a lot of Indians which are in 2 months. There are a lot of people who are not permanent residents. They are hesitant. Vaccine is free for every human being on the Australian soil. Please let them know. No Medicare card is required. Nothing is required except your name and phone number so that you can be booked for the second dose. So please pass on this message. Thank you very much.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you so much for joining to Hindu Council of Australia's Victoria Chapter special webinar. We'll be doing a lot more. Thank you for joining today. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar.